Ascent of sap. So we have discussed about the translocation or the absorption of the water, how it is radially absorbed through the root hair and then it is radially moved to all part of the plant. So in this lecture, we'll discuss about the different composition of the xylem, the structure, the ascent of sap, and the transpiration, and the factors which are affecting these transpiration processes. So ascent of sap. So we know that the water and the mineral from the soil, they get to enter inside the plant through the epidermis. The epidermis, we know these are the outermost layer of the root we can say, okay, and these epidermis are somewhat, they are extended and forming the root hair. So root hair is what? These are the extension of the epidermis only. Okay, so water and the mineral, they basically enters the plant through the soil, through the epidermis of the root. This is the epidermis cells of the root. So they enter from the epidermis layer and then they radially they move or radially cross the cortex region. So these are the cortex region, and afterward they pass into the xylem. So they have the xylem is there and they have the phloem in is there. Okay, so here we will talking about the xylem only. So from the epidermis to the cortex, and then the water and the minerals are moving or transporting to the xylem only. And from the xylem, the water and the dissolved mineral in the xylem, then they moves. What means, suppose this is a root of the plant and here the water is basically entering, and then from the xylem the water is moving upward like this. Okay, so it is a very important process for the plant to transport the water as well as the mineral from the soil to its uppermost leaf, because the leaves are there. The leaves are also requiring the waters and the mineral. The shoots, they also require the water and the mineral. So all these parts of the plant, they require the water and the mineral, and the xylem, it helps in the transferring or transporting these waters and the minerals upward to the uppermost leaves we can say. So the upward movement of the mineral and the water against the gravitational forces, and gravitational forces is here in the downward direction. So this is the gravitational force. Okay, so the movement of this particular, the movement of the mineral and the movement of the water against these gravitational forces from the root to the aerial part of the plant through the xylem is known as the ascent of sap. Okay, so this ascent of sap is very much important. Why? Because it is one of the crucial for the transport of the water, mineral and the nutrient from the roots to the leaves, where they are utilized in various physiological processes. What processes? Like we know that the photosynthesis, it is occurring in the leaves. So it is one of the major important physiological process. Next, in the different metabolism and also in the growth of the plant. Okay, so this is all about the ascent of sap. Now let's understand what is the anatomy of the xylem, the composition and its structure. So basically the xylem anatomy or the xylem composition, it is a complex tissue and it is made up of living and the non-living cell, and they have the conducting cells. Conducting cells basically in the xylem, they are the non-living cells, and they include the two types of the trachary element. The first one is the trachary and the second one is known as the vessel element. Now both of these cells, the tracheids and the vessel element, basically they have the cell type which are thick. They have the cell type which are lignified secondary, means they have the lignified secondary cell wall is present in them and they are dead at the maturity. Tracheids are basically the elongated one. They are the spindle-shaped cell with the heavy lignified walls, and they have the pits in their wall through which the water used to flow between the tracheids. So pits are just the opening, we can say, for the flow of the water. Okay, and these pits are basically very microscopic, and they are microscopic regions in the lateral wall of the tracheids where the secondary wall is absent and the primary wall is present, but it is very thin so that it can allow the movement of the water. Now the pit of the one tracheids, they basically are located on opposite they are typically located opposite pits of the adjacent tracheids like this. The pit of the one trachea and pits of the another trachea. So they are basically located at the opposite pits of the adjacent trachea, thus forming a pit pair which is separated by a pit membrane. Okay, this pit membrane. And the porous layer is present between the pit pair consisting of the primary walls and the middle lamella. It is called as the pit membrane. And the vessel element, they are somewhat shorter and they are wider than the trachea, and they have the perforated end walls that forms a perforations plate at each end of the cells like this. They have the perforation plates present in them. Okay, and the perforated end wall of the vessel element, they allow them to stack end to end and forming the large conduits which is known as the vessel. And this arrangement only it provide the efficient transport or efficient pathway for the movement of the water. Now the presence, these vessel elements are basically present in the angiosperm and some small group of the gymnosperms. Okay, so vessels are present in them, and because of the open end walls in the vessels they provide a very efficient low resistance pathway for the water movement. And additional cells are also present besides the tracheids and the vessels. What are they? The parenchyma are present. Parenchyma cells are present and they are meant for the storage. And some fibers are present for the mechanical support. Okay, so the transport is basically the unidirectional